Welcome to the Hermetic Astrology Podcast. I'm Gary Caton in Waynesville, North Carolina. You can find me on the web at dreamastrologer.com. And I'm here today with Amanda Walsh, CEO and co-founder of Astrology Hub. Welcome to the show, Amanda.
Thank you so much, Gary. It is such a pleasure to be here with you and to be connecting with your audience. And I'm just very grateful. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm really happy to have you here as well. You and I have been working together for a year or two, something like that now, and it's always been fun every time. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I wanted to maybe start off the show just diving in and asking you some personal questions, if you don't mind, just to let people get to know you a little bit.
Yeah, let's
Is that
just
cool?
dive in. Why not?
Right on, right on. So, one of the things I always like to ask people is, when you were young, who did you want to be when you grew up?
It's such a fun question to think about for a moment. I had this very, very wise, charming, wonderful grandfather who was a psychologist. And
Nice.
so I saw the work that he did and the way that he helped people, and also the influence that he had on my mom. So my mom brought a lot of his teachings into what she taught us growing up. And so I always thought it would be amazing to be a psychologist.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I think about that I was always doing when I was young, always, was putting on shows. Like, I put on shows all the time. I would recruit all the neighbor kids and we'd put on these big shows. Of course, we would
Nice.
charge for people to come to the show. It'd be like 50 cents, right? You had to
You
buy tickets.
charged?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Oh my God, that's
Not only did I
hilarious.
charge to come to the shows, but this is a funny one. I literally would pick flowers from my neighbors' yards and put them in arrangements and then sell them to them. And I remember my mom being like, Amanda, you can't do that. And I was seriously perplexed. Like, why can't I do that? I'm making it even prettier. And I'm selling it to them.
That's so hermetic. Yeah.
I always had this entrepreneurial spark. My father is a lifelong entrepreneur.
Nice.
And I would sit on his lap from the time I was a little girl and ask him questions about business. I have 3 brothers. And he would always say, you're the one with the business head. Like, you're the one who,
Wow.
you had this interest from a very early age. So the blend of, the other things I would always do with my friends is I would take them on adventures. Like, we would always go on adventures into nature, these epic adventures. So the combination of putting on shows, psychology, which was really about like understanding people and understanding how they work, and entrepreneurship, it's kind of like what I've been doing.
That's so cool. Yeah, because I was looking at your bio there on Facebook, and I noticed that you studied psychology at university, and I did too. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. But how did she get the business from there? That's an interesting story, I bet. So yeah.
So I have my undergrad, my Bachelor of Science in psychology, but then my master's was in organizational psychology. So I thought that maybe I would go into like leadership development and coaching executives and things like that. And I did go into that field for about a year after I graduated. But that kind of entrepreneurial bug was in me. It was like, I could do that. Or at the time, my dad and my brother had started this. It was when cell phones were becoming the big thing. So they started this company that was almost like a consultant for organizations for their wireless platforms and things. Totally random, nothing I had studied, but they recruited me into the company. They were like, we want you to help us grow it. We want you to help us with our sales team. And the opportunity to move from California to New York came in about 2 years into me doing that business. And so I got to run our whole East Coast operations and sales and everything. So that part of me never died. And that was probably the direction I always needed to go.
Wow, a young person living in the Big Apple and being an entrepreneur, that sounds like fun.
It was amazing. It was just exhilarating for a
Yeah.
period of time, and then it wasn't. But
That's usually
but
how it goes.
I always felt like the psychology piece was infused in everything. I mean, the leadership, the working with people was always part of the work.
Mm,
But yeah, no, then in New York, it was like I did that for about 7 years. I had a daughter. I realized that I wasn't really aligned with the work. I
mm,
wasn't really aligned with what we were doing, and
mhm.
I wanted to be. I
Yeah.
wanted to feel like I was helping. I wanted to feel like I was in my heart and like giving my gifts in the most fullest way that I could.
Yeah.
And so
Your
that led
soul was
to
calling for you to be part of something deeper, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
was like, I remember just getting to a point where I would be on calls and I would be doing my work and it was just like, oh my God, I don't care about any of this. And if I
Mm.
stay here, I'm gonna die.
Oh my
And
God, I
I
know that
didn't mean
feeling.
physically.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do know, right? Like I didn't mean
Yeah.
physically. I knew like my soul was dying and that
Mm.
I had to infuse oxygen into the situation.
Yeah, it's great when people hear that call of the soul very clearly and they answer it. I love to hear those stories.
Well,
It's
and
really
it's funny too,
cool.
because sometimes people go, oh, that was so brave of you. And I'm like, well, but I don't even actually feel like I had a choice.
I know, same here.
Like,
Yeah. Like,
yeah, it wasn't
wow.
like brave because it wasn't like, there was no other option but to like jump off the ship I was on.
Yeah. Have you ever read that book by Paulo Coelho, the Alchemist?
Yes.
Remember how he
Yes.
talks about in there, like some people dangle the idea of a quest or a pilgrimage in front their whole lives and they never take it, but
Mm.
they need the idea of it. I think when people say that, like they said, oh, it's so brave, they're coming from that perspective of somebody who's like, I love the idea of it, could never do it. You know what I'm saying? Because
Oh, totally.
yeah, I heard the same thing from people like, oh my God, I'm so, you know, amazed at you that you could just take off and do, because I could never do that,
Totally.
So
And I did the real archetypal one. I think this holds an archetypal space for people in our consciousness of the move from New York City to Hawaii, which so many people have felt that specific call of
uh-huh.
like moving to paradise,
Mm.
moving to like that place where I can just be and I can be myself. And, of course it's that's not exactly how it's experienced, but that is the sort of idea that's held for people. So a lot of times I would hear, oh my God, I've always wanted to do that. And I've just never had the guts to do it. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, well, hail to fellow Gutso.
Yes. And all the fellow gutsos in the audience, I'm sure there's lots of them out there.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
anybody who's contemplating becoming one, I can guarantee you it's worth it. Um,
It's very adventurous. There's lots of twists and turns and lots of unexpected events, and then you find yourself just 7 years later running an astrology company and you didn't even know what astrology was
I
7 years ago.
know, right? I want to
That's
ask you
amazing.
about that too. Yeah. It reminds me of like, Joseph Campbell talked about following your bliss, and
Oh,
Carlos Castaneda talked about being on a path with heart. It's like that essence of having soul, something soulful in your life. And different people get it different ways. But yeah, I mean, I can't live without it. I just can't live without it. Yeah.
so Gary, that one specific quote from Campbell about follow your bliss and the net will open. Wait. No, is that what it is? Follow your bliss and doors will open where they were otherwise closed. I have to admit that I cursed that quote for years
Oh my goodness.
because I was like,
Wow.
where are the doors? I did it. I followed my bliss and there's no doors. And I
Wow.
now I know, that was part of the journey that was also necessary, that like total breakdown of this
Saturn.
identity that I'd built for myself and the concept of what success would look like or what it would look like to move to paradise. And, all those things had to just unravel completely.
Wow, that's really great. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I think a lot of people, they think like, people like you and I or whomever, we snap our fingers and we take off and it's like, boom, you're just, it's like,
No,
it's hard work. It's still hard, but you're on a path with heart. You're on a path with soul. You're in search of your bliss. You're not always in it, right?
totally. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yes. And
Yeah.
when I was going through like the serious dark night of the soul that followed my following the bliss, I remember making a vow to remember it and
Mm,
to share about it with people, because when you're in that place, you think you're a failure. You think you did something wrong. You think you turned the wrong corner. And it's like, wait, no, 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 no. It's part of it. It's part of the process. Keep going. You're going to get through to the other side. There's going to be light. And that's what I feel like people like us who have, and of course there's going to be more. It's not like you ever stop doing that, but we
right.
can at least lend the hand and say, look,
Hmm.
you're okay. You're good. You're right
It's
where you need
part
to
of the
be.
path.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. That's a really great point. Thank you for mentioning that. Um, so yeah, so I wanted to ask you how you get into astrology, but I wanted to ask you some other questions about, because like you're probably the only CEO I know.
Whoa. Whoa. Wait, that says something. I
So
don't know what
like
that says.
one of the things I was wondering is, as a CEO, do you prefer to be called a businesswoman, a business person, entrepreneur, something else? Like
It's
what
such
is that? What is it like being a CEO? What do people call you?
it's such a cool question, Gary. And I struggled with it myself, because I realized that if I said CEO, that so many people have a very negative association with that title. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
well, so there was a period of time where I stopped referring to myself as CEO, because I didn't want to like automatically out the gate just turn a bunch of people off because
Yeah.
of that. But then I had this moment of like, wait. That is actually the function I'm playing in my organization. That actually is who I am. And Capricorn so much is about the executive, the CEO. And so much of my life was about feeling bad about that, feeling
Mm,
sort of shameful and like,
interesting.
yeah, like it wasn't kind. It wasn't beautiful. It wasn't heartfelt. It wasn't in service. So I
Yeah.
shunned that. And I was like, no, I'm not that. But then finally I was like, well, no, I am that. And I actually have an opportunity to redefine what that is and like what
Yes.
that looks like to people.
Let
And if
me
they'll give
tell
me a
you, let me please tell you, you are redefining what that is,
thank
lady.
you.
You are, because I got to tell you, you know, I have the same feelings from the other side.
Totally.
Sometimes when I hear certain words and I hear certain, marketing things. In fact, I had a recent experience where somebody was marketing something for another astrologer and it was really offensive. And I wrote them back and said, I don't think you understand. Astrologers are spiritual and this is just not the way to go. And I
Mm,
copied the person they were working for as a courtesy. I wasn't
mm,
mad at the astrologer. I was just upset about the way that they were. It felt like just really out of harmony with what astrologers do. And so, yeah, I mean, I think you were right to feel that sort of like, wait, is there, because yeah, I've been guilty of having that like, oh, CEO, oh, marketing, But I got to tell you, with you, it feels very different. Absolutely, you have a penchant for seeing people as for seeing not through people. If somebody says, "Oh, so and so can see through you," that feels negative. But seeing into them,
mm,
I feel like you see into people and you see who they really are and what they're really about, and then you show them how they can portray that in a way that helps them in terms of marketing and stuff. That's awesome. That's absolutely redefining that whole deal, and I
thank you.
love it. I'm really happy that you're doing that.
Thank you. Yeah, for me, it's
Yeah.
about just amplifying the energy. The energy's there. And so
Right.
we just get to like showcase it, highlight it, amplify it, and make sure that everyone gets to benefit from the wisdom that people like you, Gary, have. So
Thanks.
the other word that people have this negative connotation with is the word business,
Yes.
which also was something I felt bad about because, like I said, from an early age, I was intrigued by it. I was
Mm-hmm.
curious. I was like, how does it all work? And yes, I know it can be used for really negative things, but
Yeah.
yes, it can be used for really positive things. So
Yes.
it's all in how we use these tools. It's the same with technology, right? Yes, it can
Absolutely.
be crushing and totally, ruin lives. And yes, it can be used as a tool for light. So we get to choose.
Right on. I love it. That's really cool. Um, I had another question along. Yeah. Okay. So, um, As a business person, if I may,
You
businesswoman,
can say business, any of them.
entrepreneur.
Yeah, there you go. I really like that
As
one.
an
That one, like,
entrepreneur,
yeah.
as a business, as a person with a business mind or business acumen, entrepreneur, and it's okay if you want to, like, sidestep this question because it's
Okay.
kind of direct, but what do you think of some of the current business models in the astrology world? Like, you were at UAC, for instance, and you saw
Mm-hmm.
some of these groups and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
because, I just sometimes I wonder, like, is this really the way business is supposed to work?
Mm. um, I'll say this in a way that feels good. I think there's room for fresh energy. I
Yes.
think there's room for new paradigms and perspectives. I hope that at Astrology Hub, we're modeling that, because
Yes.
the way that I see it is, like, some of the old structures just need to be shaken up a little bit, and there needs to be room for different perspectives and voices and different paths. Not everybody takes the same path to becoming an astrologer. Not
Mm-hmm.
everybody takes the same path in how they practice. And while this is the line that I always work to walk, is while maintaining the integrity of the craft, which I know for different people would have different definitions, and
Right.
there's like room for interpretation in that, but in a way that feels really good to me. And I get these things bounced off of by other astrologers too. It's like, we'll launch something or we'll do something, and I get opinions from astrologers to make sure that we're maintaining the core and the integrity
Mm-hmm.
while making astrology more accessible. Making,
Mm-hmm.
like, I love that you use the word fun when you said every time you've interacted with me, it's been fun,
If you're
because
not having fun, what the heck, man?
exactly, it should be fun. This is fun. This is a celebration. This is a,
Yeah.
like, this is an honoring of something so sacred, and that doesn't have to be somber, and it doesn't have to be boring.
Right.
So it's like, how do we make these things come to life? That's the
Mm-hmm.
thing for me, is it's, and without saying anything bad about any other ways, that's just
Right.
where, like, for me, when I look at it, I'm just like, it could just be like freshened up. Like, there's and we don't need to protect. That's a thing I feel happens a lot, is this, like, I gotta protect what's mine. I gotta protect this space, and I feel threatened by this new things coming in. It's like,
Yes.
mm, there's really room for all of it. We need the wisdom of the people that have been practicing for decades. We need that. Like, and in no way would I ever want to sidestep any of those wisdom keepers and experience keepers. There's no substitute for
People like
someone.
David Cochran, for instance,
Yes. Oh
he's
my God.
works with you, and
He's
he's
an
just won
amazing
the
example.
Regulus Award.
He's a great, what, honestly, for me, he totally embodies what's necessary,
Mm.
because he is a wise elder in the field of astrology,
Mm-hmm.
and he's totally open to
Cutting
new
edge.
ideas,
Yeah.
new, like, some of the young people that he has actually introduced me to, some young astrologers who, like, have taken a very untraditional path to becoming who they are today.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. There's, like, a lot of
Yeah.
different ways, and some people
Yeah.
get that. Some people like you, I've seen that there's, like, this activation moment that obviously is written into the soul contract,
Hmm.
that kind of bypasses some of the years that it might have taken other people to get to the level at, like, where you're practicing. So,
Mm.
and I also see this room for astrology to be infused into so many other disciplines. So
Yes.
you have someone that has, like, a background in magic or alchemy or psychology or Reiki or
History.
history. Oh my God,
Yeah.
totally. And then to bring astrology into those things, and or vice
Yes.
versa, if you're already practicing astrology, to bring those things into that practice. It's, to me, like,
It's totally not just, in fact, I use the word
mm-hmm,
transdisciplinary,
mm-hmm,
because it's not just multidisciplinary, it's beyond disciplines,
mm-hmm.
in fact, it's something that can bring disciplines together, so that, yeah,
Absolutely.
wow, that's wonderful. Yeah, and let me just say again, because I have felt like you've been very affirming for me in the past, you are doing that. You are definitely showing the way to new avenues, new paths. And I got to say, in a very positive way, without, I mean, I feel like I am paid what I'm worth when I'm working with you. And I feel like, that's not always the case as an astrologer. And it's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. When I first started to see, I feel like I benefit from the fact that I was clueless about astrology until my first reading. Like clueless. Like I thought it was the horoscope in the back of Vogue, and that was
Right.
that. Like I didn't think about it. I didn't dream about it. I didn't have a mom who taught me all about it. None of that. So I was clueless. So I've actually experienced being on the other side of it, like completely on the other side of like, like that's just totally out there woo-woo stuff. It has no bearing on reality. And when I had my first reading and got to experience the profound impact that it had on my life from one reading, like one reading from a perfect stranger, I started to like scratch my head and be like, whoa, like how come nobody knows about this? Like this is what I was looking for in my master's in psychology. This is what I paid all the money to like try and figure out. It was like here
Wow.
in this woman's living room, Natasha Alter, who I love to this day.
Wow. So
And
cool. And it's like you said with my dream that anybody could have that experience. Anybody can have that same experience you had, that a consult, it's a sacred space when I really firmly believe that when you consult with another human being and you open that sacred space with the chart, it can be a profound life altering moment. And it was for you. So that's how you got into astrology, was through reading.
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, so
Wow.
basically I had my first reading, and then my life basically fell apart. Like I told you, I love the dark night. It's like, you need the dark years. You need
Yes.
the dark, like it's not a night. Like if it was a night, it'd be totally tolerable.
Yeah.
And but astrology became a complete lifeline for me. Like it affirmed for me so many things when I was going through that time. It affirmed for me. So I was going through a divorce. I was going through a complete career crisis. I was near bankruptcy. I mean, it was bad. Like talk about
Wow. Yeah.
SHIT hitting the fan. Like it happened, and it happened all at once.
Wow.
And astrology in that time, I had 3 different astrology readings because I didn't want to be getting divorced. So I was like, someone's going to tell me something different. Like someone's going to tell me that this is like an internal divorce. Like I'm divorcing some aspect of myself. But like every astrologer was like, no, honey, you're getting divorced. I was like, oh,
Wow.
really? Okay. But every single one of them also said, and at the other side of this, because Jupiter was involved, like this, you have to go through this portal. And when you go through this portal, you are going to be stronger and better and more brilliant than you've ever been before. So it's okay. Like, it's okay that this is happening. So I would hear that, like when I was crying in my car every single day, I would have that in the background, like, but it's okay. Like there's an end to this. And the end of this is me more me, is me more on my path. And I said I wanted that. When I left New York and I moved to Hawaii and I sold everything I owned, I
Careful
said
what you ask for.
Yeah, I know, totally. Totally. I also said I'm ready for my destiny under a full moon, which was just, that was literally the day before the SHIT hit the fan.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Anyway, so astrology became this lifeline. And for me, it was like, how do I help other people have this experience? Those people that are going through those dark times and they don't realize astrology could be a lifeline for them.
Yeah.
Because it was a lifeline, but then it helped me realize how connected I was to all the other people, because this was in like 2012, 2016-ish.
It's very archetypal too, what you're speaking about. If we go back to the Joseph Campbell thing, if I may, if it's not too
do your
you're
thing.
over your thing.
This is your show.
I just don't want to be too triggering for you or anything.
No.
But yeah, he speaks about like when the heroine sets off on the journey, she meets with a mentor. She meets with someone who has this wisdom that will carry her through the dark place. You see? And so it's totally, that's what you realize. Astrology can be the mentor that carries you through that dark place, right? Yes. So it's very archetypal. Yeah.
Super beautiful. Archetypal. Yes. And then there's translators of that language like you that make it easy for people like us who aren't astrologers to benefit from the wisdom. So there's the connection, there's the magic that it brings back into your life. I mean, all of a sudden things that like seemed just coincidental or unmeaningful, you realize, no, all of it has meaning. All
It's
of it.
so meaningful. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. And that's the magic. Like that's where you get to go back to being that child who knew there was magic, who was like, of
Uh-huh.
course there's magic. It's
Yeah.
like, it's back, you know?
Yes.
So to me,
Yes.
there's so many gifts of astrology that it's just such a blessing to steward astrology and astrologers. So when you talk about you feel well paid when you are working with us, that makes me feel so good, because just going back to when I first started getting in and realizing how amazing and powerful astrology is, I also realized that most astrologers were really struggling
Mhm.
financially. There was also a storyline that they need to, kind of like artists, like the starving artist thing.
Oh,
But
yeah.
but then there was also a lot of circumstances where they either weren't asking for their worth, which happens a lot, or they were being taken advantage of. And I was like, I don't like that, because I want
Yeah.
them to be able to practice this full time. Like if this is their passion and this is their craft, they should be doing this full time. I would hear about these incredible astrologers who it was just their side job. And I was like, whoa, if all of their energy could be funneled in this direction,
It
can you
makes
imagine?
such a difference. I'm here to
Right?
tell you it makes a huge difference.
Of
Yes.
course it does,
Yes.
because you
Yeah.
get to immerse yourself, you get to study, you get to practice more. Like, of course that's going to make a difference, right?
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, if there's any way we can help to enable astrologers, to feel more comfortable asking for their worth, and really help them realize how beneficial and amazing what they're doing is. Like, why should all these other fields get paid a lot of money and astrologers be broke and poor and having to have a side, like having astrology be their side hustle? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, so
Yeah.
I'm honored to be a part in any way, shape, or form of that shift to
Yes.
astrologers being able to like
Yes.
really
And I
practice
think,
that.
that's one of the reasons why I wanted to ask you some more business type questions, if, there's that word, but it's good
I
because
like the
guess
word.
what? Astrologers in general need more business acumen so that they can do what you're saying and get what they're worth, and, like, you know what I'm saying, and be
It's so
more.
funny, Gary. I hope this doesn't trigger you, but earlier on in the conversation, when you were referring to me as an entrepreneur, I was kind of like,
Uh-huh.
what are you? Because
Right?
you are also an entrepreneur. You are also a business owner. You are actually also a CEO. Uh-oh.
Sole proprietor, yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know what I'm
totally.
saying? Like you are running the helm, the ship. Maybe you don't have a bunch of
Yeah,
people
and
working
it's
for you
just
right now.
me, man, and it's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah.
So, yeah, and I think that astrologers seeing somebody who is really able to merge the business and the spirituality and this and bring a soulfulness to the business. I think that that will do a lot to take the negative charge off of those words, and also encourage us to do as you say, because yeah, we as a collective, and this of course doesn't necessarily apply to any one individual, but as a collective, we could certainly do better as business people, I think, and so,
Yes, it doesn't serve anybody for us to continue disassociating with that part of our power.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
there's so much potential for light to be spread and shared in effective ways. That's why I don't cringe at the word marketing either, because I've completely redefined it for myself as just straight up communication. That's all it is.
you
It's just
know,
communicating what you have, who it could help, and why anybody, like, it's real simple. And the more effective we are at communicating slash marketing, the more we enable the person who's engaging with our work to just make a choice. It's like, this is who I am, this is what I have. Does this resonate with you? Do you think this could help you? And if
yep.
you can, great, we have something for you. If not, great too. So
Maybe
it's real
next time,
simple. It can just take the charge out of all this stuff. And I get it.
yeah,
Like, it can be used, it can be done in such in an unelegant way, and it can be done in a way that is a little insulting and all those things, but we don't have to do that.
No, and you don't, and I'm really happy for that. So what you spoke about in terms of when I asked you about, some of the existing paradigms, and you thought there's room for new stuff, and that is very consistent with the idea of Capricorn and Aquarius, both being ruled by Saturn.
Mm-hmm.
Saturn
Mm.
rules Capricorn as a nocturnal sign. So Saturn is about boundaries. So in Capricorn, the boundaries are closed. So like, in a Capricorn system, you have to, know the password, or, have the right degrees, or, you have to get in, it's hard to get in. In an Aquarian system, anybody can get in. The door is open, and there's room for innovation and entrepreneur and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's very much going on today. I mean, when I started podcasting back in 2008, there were like maybe 10 podcasts on iTunes, 10 good ones, I'll say. And the three of us dudes in Asheville were were three of them. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
wow. Wow.
And now there's like a ton of people doing it. You know what I'm saying? Including you. And I think that's wonderful, that idea that it's an open door that anybody can go through and everybody can try all kinds of different stuff. And on that note, I wondered, like, what do you see as kind of in terms of business models or marketing or communication, what do you see as like the future? Where are things going? Do you have ideas about that?
Well, I think okay, that's a big question.
It
And
is a
I'm
big
gonna,
question.
I can only see as far as I can see. Because like if
Yeah,
you had told me 5 years ago that I would be doing what I'm doing with the technology platforms that we have,
right.
it would have been inconceivable, right? I do think we're at a point where the future is pretty inconceivable on many
It's
levels. And
true.
people like you have like definitely taught me that. And
Nice.
at the same time, I think the trend of decentralization, of the dissemination of information in a way that is way less controlled, and where people get to choose, like things like crowdfunding. I remember when crowdfunding came, I was like, oh my
Right.
God, this is so cool. Like the only way you used to be able to get money is you'd have to go and convince a bank or a private investor that you were worth it. Now
Right.
you can go to all the
You've been
people.
through that, right?
Yes,
That's
I
an
have.
intimidating process.
Yes, I did do crowdfunding, but the thing that I loved about it was like now you get to like go out with your idea to people who would resonate with your idea, friends, family, and your tribe, and they have the choice to help you bring something to life. Whereas
Yep.
before that was just clamped down, like you could only do it if the bank or the private investors believed in your business model and all those things. So I see that as like the opportunity for a lot more entrepreneurial endeavors, a
Nice.
lot more of the ability for us to vote with our dollars and to just like back the things we believe in, right?
Yes. Yes.
And the other thing I really see the trend in, and this isn't like a business model type trend, but it's more of a stance trend in business, is a trend towards authenticity,
Mm.
a trend towards the heart,
Mm-hmm.
and a trend towards vulnerability. And what I
Mm.
mean by that is this: when business owners, when leaders are human
Mm.
and relatable, and
Yes.
there's not this like guru on the pedestal sort of thing. It's more like, look, we're in this together, we're figuring this out together. I know as much as I know, and you know as much as you know, and together we can reach new heights. But
Wow,
I
that's
see
exciting.
super exciting, and I see
Yeah,
it in our business. Like what our audience responds to is authenticity, is heart.
that's
And I don't mean they just
fantastic.
respond, they go, oh, I like that. I mean, they want to journey with us through time
Mm.
because they have that experience. So
Mm-hmm.
it's both from a like human perspective, it feels so much better, so much more fun than
Yes.
like, oh,
Yes.
I have to like put on some like stuffy image of like perfection,
Right.
it feels better for the leader and the business owner, but then it also is good from a business perspective at this point in time. Like
That's
it actually
awesome.
is received with people saying, look, I want to support you. I want to invest in you because I know that you're a real human and I can trust you, you know?
Interesting.
So
Wow. Wow. Yeah, as a man, I still have, You know, I mean, I did a whole thing when I started out. I actually started out as the Goddess Astrology podcast because I wanted to try to go on this journey of discovering the feminine and like being able to integrate some of it. But I still have work to do, I know, in vulnerability, because I'm not one of those people that'll say when I'm struggling. And it's like you said, there's value in sharing that struggle with people because they might think that, oh, like, you know, they just went through and, you know, and no, there was definitely a dark night. And there
Exactly.
continues to be dark nights, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really
And
good reminder. And it's really hopeful to me to hear that. Thank you.
I'm glad, and I think it's a process, and there's also the dance of like, how much do you share? Like, do you share everything? It's like, is it
Yeah.
anything you get to have privacy around? And
Yeah.
I think for each person there, you have your own barometer of what feels right. And there's some people I've heard speak, they say, speak from the scar, not from the wound,
Yes.
meaning like you might want a little bit of distance from the thing you just went through. Because if you're reporting on every single thing as you're in it, that's also can get a little bit heavy for
Messy.
people too.
Yeah,
Because you still, it's acknowledging your role as a leader while acknowledging your role as a human. It's
that's beautiful. I love that.
both.
Speak from the scar, not the wound.
Yeah.
That's so Chiron and Aries.
Yeah.
You know, that's awesome. I love it.
I
That's a
didn't
real
make it up,
gem.
so I can't take credit for it, but I have heard people say it, and it
Yeah.
hit
Well,
me
you
too. It was
know,
like, oh, that's good.
passing it on. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, so I was going to ask you, what's the most important things that you've learned from hanging out with astrologers? I think you've said some of that, but
Astrologers are amazing. Astrologers are like super smart, way more intelligent than anyone gives them credit for. Um, the most important things that I've learned from working with astrologers, Gary, I sit in a very unique position because I get to speak to lots of different kinds of astrologers.
hmm,
And so I think one of the most amazing things that I've gotten to learn is that there are so many different perspectives.
mm-hmm,
And each one of them has validity for the right people at the right time. And so
mm-hmm.
that's another reason why I never like worry about the whole competition thing, because it's not like you have your one astrologer that you follow. You have your like 15 astrologers that you follow. And then you change. And so you'll resonate with a whole new astrologer like 15 years later, whatever it is. So there's enough room. Um, God, I
Yeah.
learn so much from you guys every day. I mean, one of the things that I am just really connecting with, and it's astrologers like you who really bring this in, is this connection with the sky.
Mm.
It's like, it's so beautiful and so simple and so profound and so lost that even for myself personally, this opportunity to go back out under the sky and like talk to the sky and listen to the sky and observe the sky and just be with the sky, all those
Mhm.
things. It really has an impact, and I've loved sharing it with my daughters. And
Aw, that's so
it's
cool.
awesome because we'll go out with
Yay.
our little star chart app, and we had a whole
Ah.
conversation the other day in the car about which moon phase is our favorite. And Sophia's
Aw.
favorite is the full moon, and Madeline's favorite is the very elegant tiny crescent that happens right after the new moon. And they had their reasons for why. And you know, your
Uh,
photography, I've shared your photography with our audience, and
mm,
you can feel it shift something. So when we're hearing about this transit that's going to happen, or we're hearing about this thing that's happening, and we're hearing about it like from a flat perspective, but then you bring in that imagery, it's like, oh, whoa. I mean,
exactly. It's that
it's
it's that
it's
amazement.
breathtaking.
It's that, yeah, that's
It's like,
so
oh,
awesome. I love
like
it that you're
that's,
sharing it with the next generation too. That's so
yeah,
cool.
you know what? And it's one of the things that is easiest for them to connect with. Like when I go
Right?
into like oh, well, this means this and this one, they're like, ah,
Look
whatever,
at the
mom.
moon.
Yeah, let's go look at the moon, you guys. Let's get the star chart app out. Like, what's that star right there? That they can connect with, and that they can get excited about.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. So you've been talking about a lot of what you do, but just for the benefit of people who might not have heard of Astrology Hub before, what is Astrology Hub anyways?
I don't know. um, Astrology Hub is essentially a platform for great astrology, great astrologers, and astrology lovers to merge. And
Awesome.
so we offer lots of different ways in which to do that. So we offer free events like the upcoming forecast event, the 2020 forecast event that you will be featured in. So we do free events online. We do online courses that do deep dives into various aspects of astrology. So we have a deep dive course into your soul purpose and how you can use your chart to look at your soul purpose. We have a deep dive into eclipses and how to understand eclipses. And the thing that makes us unique is the way that we put together our courses. We, in general, highlight different astrologers that bring different elements to the discussion. And so hence the name Astrology Hub.
Right.
The hub piece is really highlighted. It's where you can go.
The center of the wheel.
Yeah, exactly.
All the
You
spokes
can go
come
there
together.
and the astrologers have been curated. You're not like finding random things online that you don't know if you can trust. The astrology is vetted. We have a process for who we choose to work with. And one of the main criteria I have, which is like a body feeling thing, it's either like a yes or no, is that the astrologers have an empowered perspective that they will pass along to the audience. It is not a fear-based
or fatalistic
environment. No, because I don't think that does anybody any good. It really doesn't. And it just doesn't do us good at this critical juncture in our evolution as a species.
Oh my God.
To go down that fear-based path of like, oh my God, we're victims and everything's happening to us and what are we going to do? I love the astrologers that bring in this real co-creative, loving, heart integrated approach.
Yes. Beautiful.
But they're also really, really smart. So yeah, courses, free events. We have our podcast, the Astrology Hub podcast, which I love to do. And then we have our membership, which is a really amazing way for people to journey through the lunar cycles with a different astrologer guide every month, to get mastery class teachings on astrology. So they learn techniques in astrology. We have cosmic updates that get delivered to your phone so you can stay in tune with the rhythm as it's happening. It's meant to be an immersion. For people who are like, I'm super into this astrology thing. I want to work with it in my life on a daily basis. I want to stay in tune with the rhythms. I want to learn more. I want to go deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole, but I want to do it in like this spirally kind of overtime process. So so you get to like experience the layer after layer after layer, which I've seen with astrology seems to be the way that one learns.
Yep. And it's like psychology, right? Peeling the onion layer upon layer, Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. And I got to say, I'm really proud to be part of this year's lineup. I mean, you've got some heavyweights, Christopher Renstrom, my friend Shireen Shostak. You've got, there's other people, Gemini Brad, of course. I'm missing people, but I was like, wow, man, this is a cool lineup to be part of,
It's such a cool lineup. We have amazing astrologer guides for 2020, and we knew we needed that. It was like, okay, this is a big year. This is a big year for all of us. So let's bring in the heavyweights. Let's make sure we have the guidance that we need and make sure that the energy stays where it needs to stay, which of course every year we're concerned about that, but especially this year, it's like 2020 is coming and we need to have the tools to work with the energies. We need to have the awareness so that we can make choices, all of those things that astrology offers, just to be able to get, again, I think of you guys as like, you're like translators of this language of light. And so
and speaking of tools, you guys just put together a guide from different conversations that you've had on your podcast, which I was a part of. And it was amazing. I was like, oh my God, look at this PDF file. It's a guide, and people can get it for free by going to Astrology Hub and checking it out. It's on my Facebook as well. There's a link. You can get a free guide. So these are the kind of tools that you were talking about as well, of like putting together these various curated viewpoints. And I thought it was so cool how, one person would have this viewpoint and then another person would say this. And it was like, wow, like there's, no matter what perspective you were coming from, you've got to be able to find something in there that you could work with,
Oh, 100%. And even though you guys all come from different angles, there's still like threads
There
that
was
go
definitely
through.
threads
Yeah, there's
too.
definitely
Yeah.
threads that go through the
Yeah.
entire year. And I wanted to like vet this whole idea that 2020 even really is that big of a deal, because I didn't want to just like ride some hype thing, like when we turned to 2000, it was like,
Oh
oh
my
my, the world's
God.
going to end. Or, you know, I wanted to make sure that it was actually legitimate and based in like sound astrology, because if we were going to get behind it, I was like, I don't want to be embarrassed about that. And I got too much Capricorn to have that kind of
We're not
embarrassment.
doing Y2K over
Yeah,
again. That was
exactly.
once was enough.
Exactly. So I asked you guys on the podcast, it was like astrologer after astrologer after astrologer
Oh
every week. Is
yeah.
2020 really as big of a deal as people are saying? And every astrologer from every different type of astrology has, even we had someone that came on last year and it wasn't Chinese. It was some entirely different system that used elements.
Oh,
Even she, coming from like this completely different like elemental like perspective,
wow.
it's like a metal year or something, um
Okay.
was saying the same thing. It's like the same thing. Like it's a big year,
Interesting.
it's a huge year, it's a
Yeah.
big change, it's something to pay attention to, it's not something to write off. Like this is a big year.
Hmm.
So
Well, I know Chinese astrology definitely has the 60-year cycle, and that's Jupiter Saturn, and
oh
which is big part of 2020. So I'm pretty sure it would even be in the Chinese astrology too.
well
Not that I'm an
there's no
expert
doubt.
in that, but
Totally. Oh, and in the numerology too. I mean, it's like in all of it, it's just lining up. It's
yeah.
a big deal.
Cool, 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 cool. Well, hey, this has been so much fun once again.
So fun. So fun.
And I just want to, before we wrap up here, I want to ask you if there is anything else you want to tell people about,
Well,
or
I just hope that your audience will join us for the 2020 forecast event. It's
yeah.
happening January 9th through 12th. It's free. We will be spending 3 days with 12 different astrologers, walking through every lunar cycle of the year, talking about all the key dates, all the key transits, the overarching themes of 2020, what to pay attention to, how to work with the energies. And also you'll get to meet the 2020 astrologers. So all
It's
of
like
the
a mini
astrologers.
version of the membership thing
Exactly.
over the year,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah,
condensed
yeah.
like time frame. So every day we're live for like 4 to 5 hours, January 9th, 10th, and 11th. I don't expect you all to show up for
You're
all
gonna
of those
sleep for
hours.
like 3 days after this, right?
Me? Oh my God. I will, hopefully more than 3 days. Okay, so we'll be live for that time. And then, and you can hop on and hop off, like whatever you can make. So
Right.
all the times and all that are on the page. And then on the fourth day, it's a bonus day, we are going to be doing a group meditation and ceremony at the exact moment of the conjunction of Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn.
Oh my
So
goodness,
you need
that
to
is
be at that,
so
by the way.
cool.
You need to be at that. We need to talk about that.
Yes,
But anyways,
right on.
that is going to be really powerful. We've done some big group meditations at like specific astrological moments. It's profound. Like, and
Mm,
it's never something I can predict, which is a little bit
mm-hmm.
scary. I mean, the whole event is live. I can't predict most of it, but especially the final ceremony slash meditation. It's like usually it's a big turning point. And what we figured is that coming together at that moment will really set a vibration for the rest of the year
Mm.
and really help us to come together in a sacred space and just seed that
That's
intention of love.
interesting because I actually have some really positive vibes coming from that conjunction chart. There's a couple different parts of that alignment that are supposed to be like really good for magical work, for instance.
Amazing. Well,
Yeah.
great. Let's do
So
some
there you
magical work.
go. Right on. And they've also, if people are interested in joining us for that, keep on the lookout on your Facebook, my Facebook, newsletters, etc. I'm going to be sending out links for that. It's all, and you can find it on Astrology Hub, of course, and all that good stuff. And it should be a really fun time because, like I said, Amanda is always a good time. Always have fun with talking with you.
I think it must be the Gemini moon. I don't know. But yeah. Um,
Air? Yeah. You're an Aquarius too, right?
Aquarius rising.
That must be it, yeah, because I
Yeah.
enjoy the air signs and I'm a lot of fire, so we get along easily.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So you guys join us. It's going to be so much fun. And Gary will be featured. Which day are you? Which
I am, oh geez, I have to get out my
January
calendar.
10th?
I think I'm on the first day, right?
January 9th? What
Astrology
month do you have?
Hub, the 9th. Yeah.
All right. Yes. So join the first day, and then if you like it, you can stick around and tune into the other days. But people love this event. They call it like this astrological smorgasbord because it basically
It
is.
truly is. Yeah.
Yeah. I proposed to my team that we call it an extravaganza, and they were like, "No, Amanda, we're
No?
not calling it an extravaganza." I was like, "But
Oh,
it is. It's an
but it is. Come and see
Anyway,
the show.
yes, exactly.
All right. Well, hey, it's been fun once again. Thank you so much for being on, and thank you for your perspective. I really enjoy having somebody that's, got your tools and your background on board, and I really am happy that, people like you are contributing to the astrology world. It's really fun and exciting. So thank
Mm.
you very much, and namaste.
Namaste. Thank
All
you.
right. So maybe
Aloha.
we'll do it again sometime.
I'd love it.
All
I'd
right,
love it,
cool.
Gary. All
Okay,
right.
bye-bye.
Take
Bye for
care.
now.
Aloha.